Bear is playing tonight. Adam isn't. He's had a trip to Europe back and forth and got in late last night. Hasn't skated since Tuesday in San Jose. So in talking to him, it's taken its toll. It's emotional, and the flights and the time changes. He will skate tomorrow, and he'll be ready to play on Thursday whenever we play again.
I don't want to say necessarily surprised you, but maybe made you think like, oh, that's maybe a little better than I thought it would be, or his handling?
No, I think when you evaluate Ethan's game at training camp and to where it is now, he has taken advantage of his time in the American League. I think he's fitter now than he was. He's becoming pro hockey player at a pro hockey player fitness level versus a junior fitness level, and there's a difference. So he's moving around the ice a little bit better now than he did at training camp, and the game is obviously much faster now than it was then. His confidence level with the puck, deception at the blue line offensively is good. As I mentioned in past days, we still got to work on some of the defensive game, but our whole team needs that, not just Ethan Bear.
Todd, you guys looked like you had conquered that falling behind early thing on that road trip. You guys were scoring first. I guess is that, and with the Rangers scoring the first goal of the game, is that just something that is a mental thing, or how do you kind of pass this?
It happens. It happens to every team. It's just with our group, it's been magnified, and I would agree with you. It felt like we got past that. We had a number of games where we had good periods, maybe not scoring first, but coming out of the gate and playing well. It was a little bit later on in the game where we had some lapses, and nobody's perfect. We're going to have them. But the Ranger one was disappointing because I didn't think we were ready to play. Some nights we've been ready to play, and it bounces off a skate and it goes in. I just didn't think we were engaged and ready to play in that game, and that's the disappointing part. So we'll try and make amends tonight and be prepared to go.
Todd, when you look at McDavid as the captain of this team through this stretch to the end in what's a frustrating time, what are you seeing from him in terms of the way he's leading this group through this stretch? I mean, his play obviously speaking for itself. And what do you expect from your captain in this kind of a situation?
Well, I'm going to talk, as I always do, about Connor. He takes his craft seriously. It doesn't matter if it's a preseason game or a Game 7 game in the second round of the playoffs. He's serious about his craft, and that can filter down to everybody else. As he plays hard and does things right, which he does, most of the time, everybody has a tendency to follow, and he's allowing us some coachable moments too. When you can point things out that he's doing right or maybe even sometimes wrong, it affects the whole group. So I think he's been tremendous from Christmas on, in fact, he went through another little bit of a health thing during that time, and he fought through it. Not a lot of people knew that he was sick at that point, but he's been a leader. He's been really good, and I think he matches what we're trying to sell to the team right now, and that's moving the needle forward every night, not giving anything back. And it's good to have your captain as that type of salesperson.
What do you sense from your team in terms of, the results aren't what you want them to be, and there's frustration about that, but you can't be miserable every minute of the day for the next month either. So kind of striking that balance between being upbeat enough to compete and have a positive attitude, but not being happy with where you're at.
Well, if we come and play and want to get better, we'll be fine. If we aren't engaged and we put time in, then we're miserable. And that basically dictates that night and the following day. And, in my opinion, we were miserable yesterday. I didn't think we were ready to play against the Rangers. Yes, we did come back and we had a good second half of the game, but that's too late in this league. So that dictates it. Again, short-term goals, long-term goals from now to the end of the year. Try and fix things. Try and get into the summer feeling good about your game individually, collectively, team-wise. And, so that's where we're at.
Todd, there's a video making the rounds on social media about your captain being heckled by some fans. Would you care to comment on that?
Captain being heckled by...
Yeah, McDavid, being heckled as he was leaving a restaurant with his family members.
No, I haven't seen it, but he would be the last one I would heckle if I was a fan. He gives the community everything he has, and I'm not just talking about on ice. I often sit in the lunchroom and I ask him, what are you guys doing today? And about every second day, Connor says, hey, I'm going to a hospital. I got to go see these kids. I'm going to go do that. So the individuals that choose to heckle him, look in the mirror.
Todd, you talked about wanting to improve things. Your power play just hasn't been able to find any traction at all. It's like 8% since January, almost 2 months again without improvement. It seems to be doing a lot of the same things. You know, they work it around the outside. They don't attack the net as much. What can you do to get your group to attack more on the power?
Our power play has changed a lot. It may not look like it, but it's changed a lot. The formation, the attack points where players are. You know, and that started when Koff was here. We started to talk about it a little bit and rotate some players around. We have 2 different units now that are trying to do different things. When the analytics people give me their report and you look at the numbers, we're doing everything we can and creating a number of chances in comparison to other teams. We're just not scoring. Our shooting percentage is so low. So, you know, one unit's trying to do something different right now. The other unit, we have numerous players that are on it and rotating guys through, experimenting there as well. So we'll continue to do that.
Todd, it's been a pretty rough last month for Adam Larsson. Everything going on in his life, plus traveling back and forth all the way to Sweden. Now he plays, if not tonight, very soon. Maybe just if you could comment on the difficulty of the public eye and that these guys are real guys and they go through these things, but he's going through it in front of 18,000 people every night.
Yeah, and let's face it, if you're in this world and you're our ages in this room, you've dealt with family issues, and it could be many. It could be deaths, it could be financial, it could just be you know, things that don't go right in your world, and it could be with your children, it could be with your parents. That's called life. And life isn't fair, life is tough. Because you're an athlete, because you play pro sport, and perhaps the salaries are the ones that really skew the opinion of the outside world, it doesn't mean that you don't have these issues. It doesn't mean you're not affected by emotions and issues. And Adam went through a dramatic experience. You know, to have his father come over here, not even see him before he basically passes, that's a tough thing for anybody to go through. And it doesn't end there. It's ongoing. When you pass in another country and you've got to get back to your original home, there's a lot of hoops to jump through, a lot of extra work that happened in Adam's world. And, you know, we respect the fact that he's been emotionally drained for a month and a half. And in fact, I think it affected our team a little bit. So I've gone off on a tangent a little bit. We're human. The players are human. It goes back to your question about being heckled. They're human beings. We may not be as successful as we want it to be, but when they jump in the car and they come to the rink, there's not an individual that comes to the rink and says, you know what, I'm just going to be lazy tonight and screw the dog. I have no interest in playing. They come, they actually want it, but it doesn't work sometimes. You don't feel good for whatever reason. You make mistakes. What happens here is we're in the entertainment world, and the mistakes are made on national TV in front of a large group of fans that are super passionate about what we do. And that's their escape. The players provide that escape, and when they're emotionally exhausted or drained for different reasons, it's tough sometimes.
Todd, quickly, you mentioned you're going to let Nugent-Hopkins get comfortable at center and then contemplate the wing. Is he comfortable enough yet, do you think? Or?
Not yet, no. Like, you know, Nuge, you know, Connor to Nuge, and everybody wants to see Connor and Nuge play together. You know, that was a nice play. Happened to be 6-on-5. We got the extra guy out. Nuge is having a tremendous year. Nuge has also been out for a month and a half. He's played 15 minutes of hockey in the last little bit. Let's let him play a little bit. He was gassed some shifts. He was coming off and he was red in the face, and that's no fault of his own. Let's just let him get a little bit comfortable, and then we can tinker with things a little bit later.
Todd, coming in late, is there lineup changes tonight? I noticed Cassian was the last guy off the ice this year.
Yeah, there will be some lineup changes. particularly up front, and that could be one of them. Okay.